In a high-end Chicago restaurant kitchen, the haughty executive chef, Maxwell Richards, gazes scornfully at Amelia Hartwell. With a mocking grin, he commands the apparently novice redhead to craft a beef Wellington, the most intricate dish on his menu. Unbeknownst to Maxwell, Amelia, known as Amy Hartwell, is a culinary legend concealed in plain view, a fact well known in Europe's gastronomic circles. Amelia Hartwell once presided over Paris's most esteemed kitchen. Her establishment, Litu, secured 3 Michelin stars at an unprecedented pace. Critics hailed her beef Wellington as sublime, a creation so flawless it moved diners to tears. Yet, 2 years prior, exhausted by the unyielding demand for perfection, Amelia abandoned her celebrated career. Now, at 34, she stood in the pristine kitchen of Elevation, Chicago's premier dining venue. Her auburn hair tied back simply, unrecognizable as the chef whose image adorned culinary schools globally. Dressed in plain black trousers and a white shirt, she bore no signs of luxury. "I'm applying for a line cook role," she told the hostess that morning, using her middle name, Amy. Amelia was covertly researching a book on rediscovering the joy of cooking, moving anonymously through America's top restaurants. She had altered her look, dyeing her blonde hair red and wearing minimal makeup, to remain unrecognizable, especially since she rarely allowed photographers into her European kitchen. Maxwell Richards, Elevation's 42-year-old chef, barely skimmed her resume. Known for his meticulous standards and authoritarian style, his imposing stature and stern demeanor intimidated his staff. "Your experience?" he demanded, his blue eyes icy. "Some culinary schooling in France." Amelia answered honestly, understating her illustrious background. "Mostly small bistros." Maxwell sneered. "We need help for tomorrow's James Beard dinner. You'll chop vegetables today. Try not to injure yourself." Amelia nodded courteously. "I appreciate the chance." That morning, she worked silently, studying the kitchen's rhythm. Maxwell relentlessly criticized his team, rejecting dishes for tiny flaws while claiming credit for their successes. She noticed him tweaking other chefs' dishes, adding superfluous garnishes for show. During lunch, Maxwell loomed over her station, faulting her knife skills despite her impeccable brunoise cuts. "This isn't a greasy spoon," he mocked. "We'll uphold excellence here." Amelia responded politely, amused internally. Her technique, honed under a Japanese master chef with decades of expertise, surpassed Maxwell's comprehension. As the day wore on, the staff observed her with a mix of pity and intrigue, unaware that the unassuming prep cook was mentally critiquing the restaurant for her book, Boss Behind the Kitchen Door, America's Culinary Identity Crisis. The next day, Elevation buzzed with chaos as the team prepared for the James Beard Foundation dinner. Maxwell stormed through the kitchen, shouting orders and nitpicking every task. The tension was intense as cooks hustled to assemble ornate appetizers and intricate sauces. Suddenly, Maxwell singled out Amelia, who was calmly prepping vegetables. "You, come here," he barked. She approached, wiping her hands on her apron. "A VIP table requested beef Wellington," he declared loudly for all to hear. "Since you boast French training, let's see your skills." The kitchen fell silent. Everyone knew Maxwell's beef Wellington was his pride, reserved for VIPs and notoriously challenging, demanding flawless timing and technique. The pastry had to be crisp and golden, the tenderloin perfectly medium, rare, and the mushroomed eggshells balanced in moisture. "Sir, I haven't prepared your recipe before," Amelia said quietly. "Precisely," Maxwell replied with a chilling smile. Let's test your so-called French expertise. Nail it or you're out. He pointed to the recipe card. Sus, Chef Daniel whispered as he passed. He's setting you up to fail. No one touches his Wellington. The other cooks exchanged glances, familiar with Maxwell's tactic of publicly shaming new hires to assert control. Amelia reviewed the recipe. It was solid, but lacked the subtleties that distinguished an exceptional Wellington. It used standard cremini mushrooms instead of her signature wild blend, and the pastry method missed her delicate butter fold technique. As Maxwell walked off, smirking, Amelia felt a familiar focus settle over her. The calm that had earned her Michelin stars. This Wellington wouldn't just meet his standards, it would surpass them in ways he couldn't fathom. She gathered ingredients with precision and efficiency, her movements commanding attention. The staff watched, captivated by her shift from reserved prep cook to a figure radiating authority. Amelia tightened her apron and evaluated her task. She had 3 hours to produce a masterpiece. Around her, cooks stole curious glances as Maxwell occasionally passed by, his smug expression anticipating her failure. She inspected the beef tenderloin, feeling its texture. It was decent but not exceptional. She knew skillful preparation could elevate it. She assessed the mushrooms, puff pastry, and other components, mentally planning to enhance their potential. Struggling to begin. Maxwell taunted, leaning against a counter. No, thank you. Amelia replied evenly. I'm just reviewing my materials. It's just beef Wellington, not brain surgery. He said loudly. Though for someone with your limited background, it might as well be. Several cooks cringed at his tone. Daniel shot her a sympathetic glance. Maxwell continued to nitpick, criticizing her mushroom chopping as too coarse. This isn't rustic tavern fare, he snapped. Amelia nodded politely but proceeded her way, reducing the mushrooms with precision and adding a splash of Madeira wine she found in the pantry. A detail absent from Maxwell's recipe, but vital for flavor depth. She worked methodically, her hands moving with the confidence of years of practice. The staff began to notice her unflappable demeanor despite Maxwell's harassment. More striking was her intuitive handling of ingredients, suggesting expertise far beyond her stated resume. She judged the duxelles by aroma and texture, not measurements. When searing the tenderloin, she relied on the crust's caramelization rather than a timer. You'll overcook it, Maxwell warned as she seared the beef. Without looking up, Amelia responded, It needs 20 more seconds for a proper Maillard reaction. Maxwell blinked, caught off guard by her technical term and assured tone. A hint of doubt flickered across his face as he observed her work. The kitchen's rhythm shifted subtly. Amelia became the center of attention. Her deliberate, almost mesmerizing movements reflected thousands of repetitions. For the duxelles, she made subtle but impactful changes to Maxwell's recipe, incorporating caramelized shallots, a pinch of fresh thyme, and a dramatic flambe of cognac. The rich aroma drew appreciative sniffs from nearby cooks. That's not my recipe. Maxwell snapped, his voice tense. Correct? Amelia replied calmly. I'm enhancing the beef's flavor profile. My Wellington doesn't need enhancements, he retorted. Amelia smiled faintly. Think of it as a variation, not a correction. She prepared the pastry with remarkable speed, crafting an intricate lattice that made several staff pause to watch. Daniel whispered when Maxwell stepped away. Where'd you learn that? A small place in the Loire Valley, she said simply, omitting that she had pioneered the technique, now used globally by pastry chefs. When assembling the Wellington, Amelia layered prosciutto, duxelles, and tenderloin with surgical precision, ensuring no air pockets or tears in the pastry. A technical feat even Maxwell couldn't fault. Apply the egg wash twice for proper browning, he instructed, grasping for criticism. Amelia nodded, but added a sprinkle of flaky sea salt after the second wash, her signature touch from Europe. The kitchen's atmosphere shifted. Initially entertained by Maxwell's attempt to humiliate her, the staff now watched with growing admiration. Even Maxwell's demeanor changed, his condescension giving way to cautious curiosity. When Amelia placed the Wellington in the oven without setting a timer, Maxwell challenged, "Aren't you timing it?" "I'll know when it's done," she replied. "It's 42 minutes at 400 Grevgiev." He insisted. Amelia shook her head slightly. "This needs 38 minutes, based on the pastry thickness and meat temperature." Maxwell stared, his brow creasing as if seeing her anew. While the Wellington baked, Amelia prepared accompaniments, defying protocol since Maxwell typically assigned these tasks. She crafted a glossy red wine and veal stock sauce, finishing it with European butter for sheen. She roasted baby carrots with honey and thyme, cooking them just past al dente for intensified sweetness. Maxwell observed silently, his scrutiny intense. The staff sensed a shift. This unassuming hire worked with too much confidence and precision. Daniel approached Maxwell. "Chef, her technique is unusual. Her knife work, her tasting, it's like a master's." "A master," Maxwell snapped. "Like what?" "Like someone extraordinary," Daniel said quietly. Maxwell's eyes narrowed. He pulled out his phone, searching something, his expression growing troubled. At 37 minutes, Amelia moved to the oven without checking a clock. "It's only been 37 minutes, Maxwell said, glancing at his watch. "It's ready," she stated firmly. "You can't know that." Amelia met his gaze, her polite facade dropping. "The pastry's color is optimal. The beef's internal temperature is 128 Gref, rising to 132 Gref while resting, perfect medium, rare. The aroma shows proper pastry caramelization without rendering the prosciuttos fat." The kitchen fell silent. No one spoke to Maxwell with such authority, especially not a second-day prep cook. Her technical language stunned them, revealing the expertise of a top chef. Amelia held Maxwell's gaze, a silent challenge. In that moment, they both recognized a turning point. She could maintain her disguise or reveal her mastery. Without breaking eye contact, she opened the oven, retrieving a perfectly golden Wellington. Amelia set the beef Wellington on the counter to rest, a culinary masterpiece. The pastry gleamed, its lattice crisp and defined, the proportions flawless. A rich aroma filled the space. 7 minutes to rest before slicing, she declared, her tone now authoritative. Maxwell stared at the dish, then at his phone, his face paling. "You're Amelia Hartwell," he said slowly. "Not just Amy." She smiled faintly. "I use both names." "You're not just French-trained," he pressed, voice strained. You're Amelia Hartwell of Lido. 3 Michelin stars, James Beard outstanding chef, global culinary icon." Gasps rippled through the kitchen. Staff abandoned subtlety, staring openly. A cook nearly dropped a tray. "Guilty," Amelia admitted, removing her apron. "Though I've been on a sabbatical for 2 years." "That's impossible," a young cook stammered. "Amelia Hartwell is a culinary legend, like the Michael Jordan of chefs." "I'm right here," Amelia replied with light humor. "And I'd say Michael Jordan is the Amelia Hartwell of basketball. Nervous laughter eased the tension, but Maxwell's face remained grim, a mix of humiliation and anger. "Why are you here?" he demanded. "To steal my methods, my recipes." Amelia raised an eyebrow. "I'm researching a book on American restaurant culture, on rediscovering the joy of cooking." She gestured around, though joy seemed scarce in this kitchen. Before Maxwell could retort, Daniel approached the Wellington. "May I?" Amelia nodded. "It's ready." He sliced it carefully, revealing perfect layers, crisp pastry, aromatic duxelles, and rosy, juicy medium, rare beef. "Mon Dieu." Daniel whispered in awe. Maxwell studied the slice, his expert eye finding no flaws. His face showed a painful struggle between pride and recognition of mastery. Amelia tasted her sauce with a spoon, adding a single grain of salt. "Perfect," she declared. With the authority of her Parisian days, she said, "Plate it. The guests are waiting." As the impeccable Wellington was carried out, the kitchen fell into a tense hush. Staff pretended to work, stealing glances at the unfolding drama. Maxwell finally spoke. "This is ridiculous. You infiltrated my kitchen under false pretenses, undermining my leadership." "I didn't come to undermine you," Amelia said calmly. "I came to observe and learn. Every kitchen has lessons." "And what have you learned from mine?" he asked scathingly. Amelia paused thoughtfully. "That skill alone doesn't create great food. Your recipes are exact, your methods solid, but something's missing." "And what's that?" Maxwell challenged, his face flushing. "Heart," she said simply. "You cook to dazzle, not to nurture. Your dishes show off technique, not passion." Her candid words stunned the room. No one had ever confronted Maxwell so directly in his domain. "That's bold from someone who deserted her restaurant at its peak." He shot back. "What happened?" "Couldn't handle the pressure of those stars." A flicker of pain crossed Amelia's face, her composure cracking briefly. "I left because cooking became about stars, reviews, and expectations, not the joy of feeding people." She gestured to the staff. "Look at your team. They're scared, not inspired." Maxwell glanced around, noticing his staff avoid his gaze. Her words struck a chord. "Your Wellington could be phenomenal." She continued gently. "The foundation is there, but you've settled for expectations instead of pushing boundaries." "Where's the chef who earned his first star, who took risks?" Before Maxwell could reply, the dining room manager burst in, beaming. "Chef, the guests are raving about the Wellington. They say it's the best they've ever had. The James Beard Committee member wants to meet the chef." All eyes turned to Maxwell, whose face flickered with anger, pride, and reluctant acknowledgement. The dining room buzzed with excitement, murmurs of the dish's brilliance audible through the doors. Maxwell stood still, torn between his ego and the triumph unfolding. After a long pause, he spoke. "Miss Hartwell made the Wellington." He admitted, the words heavy. "She deserves the credit." Amelia studied him. "Chef Richards, the best dishes come from teamwork, not rivalry." She turned to the manager. "Tell the guests Chef Richards and his team prepared their Wellington. It's his kitchen, his vision." Maxwell stared, stunned. "Why do that?" "Because this isn't about ego," she said softly. "It's about why we became chefs." Maxwell's tension eased slightly. For the first time, he saw her as a peer. "Would you?" he began, clearing his throat. "Would you show me your duxelles technique?" The flavor was exceptional. His humble request shifted the kitchen's dynamic. Staff exchanged surprised looks as Amelia smiled warmly. Gladly, she said. And maybe you could share your scallop searing method. It was flawless. For the next hour, amid dinner service, the two chefs collaborated. Amelia shared her techniques openly, explaining her choices. Maxwell, initially reserved, engaged genuinely, asking questions and sharing insights. The staff watched in awe as their strict boss softened, listening and even smiling. When Amelia suggested tweaking a signature sauce, Maxwell tasted it thoughtfully and agreed. "You've been too rigid with French reductions," she noted. "American ingredients need adjustments for their unique flavors." "I hadn't considered that," Maxwell admitted. By night's end, the kitchen had changed. Staff felt free to share ideas, no longer fearing harsh criticism. Maxwell maintained his standards, but responded with guidance, not scorn. 2 weeks later, Amelia prepared to leave Elevation. The kitchen now buzzed with focus, discipline, and camaraderie. Maxwell moved through the space with his usual precision, but a new approach, mentoring rather than intimidating. "I can't believe you're leaving," Daniel said, helping her pack her notes. "My work here is done," she replied, smiling. "I have 6 more restaurants to explore for my book." Maxwell approached, more at ease than ever. "The publishers called again, eager for your next cookbook." "And yours," she reminded him. "Our collaboration." He nodded, a spark of enthusiasm in his eyes. "I've been testing those fusion ideas we discussed. They're promising." Servers arrived for the pre-service briefing, one carrying the evening's special, a new beef Wellington, blending Maxwell's precision with Amelia's soulful touches. "Your influence will endure here," Maxwell said, offering his hand. Amelia shook it firmly. "Not my influence. Just a reminder of what's possible with precision and passion." As she left, she heard something rare from her early days, Maxwell's genuine laughter as he worked with his team, creating something extraordinary together. If this story resonated with you, remember that true mastery blends skill, passion, and humility. When you savor a remarkable meal, appreciate the artistry behind it. Where are you reading from today? Share in the comments. If you love this culinary tale, follow for more stories showing that success stems from inspiration, not intimidation. Often, the greatest lessons come from unexpected mentors.